When I was 24, I was given a phone book and told, hey, go turn some of these people into customers. And that was about as helpful as saying, hey, Daryl, you're in Maryland, go to California, but no, I'm not going to give you a roadmap. I got lost 1,000 times along the way. So here's the deal: a sales funnel is your roadmap for converting a prospect to a paying customer. And if you don't have one, you're going to get lost along the way. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about what a commercial insurance funnel should look like, what's supposed to happen at every stage, and the most common places where deals fall apart and how to fix it. So let's get into it. The place where all of us start is we have a list of people that have no idea who we are, and it's our job to go get their attention. It's lead generation. And everybody talks about it in terms of content marketing or cold calling or email or drop ins, and everybody's got the best formula for lead generation. But at its crux, what our job is to do is identify what does our ideal customer look like and how do we get their attention. And if we don't know what our ideal customer looks like, how old they are, what they like, where they go, are they on Instagram or Facebook, or do they not believe in computers? We're going to have a hard time getting their attention. So, the first step for lead generation is knowing who your ideal customer is. What type of business do they run? How large is it? What are the problems that they feel? Where do they spend their free time? What are the things that you can do to get their attention? And what are the things that you can bring to the table to solve some of their problems? So, for an example, I work with a lot of service providers for the intellectually and developmentally disabled. And the way these businesses tend to start is it's a female, usually between 30 and 45 years old, that's been working at another program and says, I'm going to go start a business. And the easiest way to start the business is to go online and they'll buy insurance through some type of online provider. And then they eventually end up with a liability policy here, an auto policy here, and a work comp policy here. And they don't have one person to drive it. And so they feel like a part time insurance broker. So when I'm calling them, I know that their most likely pains are, yeah, I got insurance all over the place. The person I'm talking to doesn't really understand what to do it. And the only way for me to create competition is to call multiple brokers. And when I hear that, I know that this is a quality opportunity for me. And I'm looking to set 15 minutes of their time to see if it makes sense to move on. Now, when I've had that initial conversation, great. That's awesome. Now it's time to figure out if it makes sense to deliver a presentation. And that's where we hit the qualifying conversation. And in the qualifying conversation, we got a couple of goals. One, to understand their current situation. We want to understand who they're working with, what their annual budget is, what their problems are, and are they problems that we can fix, and who are the key decision makers in the process. And we're trying to do this in the most time effective way possible because customers do not want to spend a lot of time talking about insurance. So, here are the problems that a lot of people have in the qualifying conversation. One, we'll end up talking about things that the customer really doesn't care about. We'll walk in, we'll talk about what's on the walls, we'll try and develop rapport, which is important, but rapport usually comes after you've solved some kind of business problem for them. Other problems that we'll have in these conversations is we'll let the customer drive the conversation. They'll say, okay, so yeah, here's my problem. So here's what you're going to do. And then I'll decide whether or not you're a good fit for me. And then we totally lose control of the process. And it becomes very hard to figure out for us how to move the process forward. Another thing that will happen is we'll talk too much. And so we won't actually hear what's going on inside their brain. And we'll walk out and we'll think, man, that was great. I talked to someone I want to talk to, but I have no idea what they actually said. Or we'll end up getting smoked and not realize that the person we're talking to has absolutely no sway over the process. So the way to solve all of this is you've got to have a script. You've got to have a rough overview of what that conversation should look like and stick to it every time so you hit the high points. And honestly, your customer's going to appreciate it because you're being so respectful to them of their time. They've got 1,000 things to do. that in their mind are way more important than insurance. And so for you to be able to get in and get out positions you as a real professional. So write your script that helps you figure out what's their current situation, what are their problems, who are the key decision makers, and how you move the process forward. All right, so great. We've had a great qualifying conversation with an ideal customer. What comes next? Well, now we're getting into the presentation of solutions. So, what do we need to address in that proposal stage? What we're trying to do is take what we heard in that first meeting and codify it in the second meeting and present a way to solve those problems. So, going back to the example of the service provider, I knew in my outreach that I'm targeting a 30 to 45-year-old woman that's running a business that feels like a part time insurance broker. And I heard from her she's got her liability insurance with HBSO, her auto with Progressive, and her work comp with Byberg. And she feels like she pays too much because she can't get any of them to come down. Well, in my presentation of solutions, what I'm going to talk to her about is saying, hey, look, if you have all that with one broker that knows the key markets and how to create competition, they're going to be able to simplify that process for you, tell you who the key markets are, how they responded, get them to compete with each other. You'll get your costs to come down and you'll save a whole lot of time in the process. And you hear how the keys in this situation are I'm taking their needs, showing them how to solve it. It's not about what I think is important. So there's some ways that insurance brokers get get a little bit messed up here at this part of the game. One is they'll focus too much on what they think is important. And insurance brokers think coverage is really important. Customers care about coverage, but if they don't understand it well enough, feel is whether or not they are comfortable or not comfortable with their current situation and whether or not they feel like they pay too much. It's a very emotional process for them. And so you have to address the emotions. So the key to winning the proposal section is by clearly understanding the emotions that they're feeling and presenting a solution on how to make those emotions better so they'll get to a better place. If you do not outline a clear path on how your solution will make them feel better about their situation and a clear path forward on how to do it, you will not win. They will choose to not make a decision. They will choose to allow their current broker to fix the problem. And they'll do the easiest thing, which is to say it, which is to do nothing. Now, let's say we've presented our presentation and we feel like we hit it out of the park. It's like, man, we got in front of the right person. We understood what their pains were, and we gave them this clear presentation. But now it's crickets, and we don't understand why. And everybody thinks that man, I got to figure out how I close business. But if we get to this point in the process and it's crickets, the problem is not our ability to close. Because if a person has gone through this process with you and said, yes, that person clearly understood what I need, clearly expressed how to solve those problems, and it's a natural path forward on how to fix those problems, the answer should come quickly and easily, and it will be logical for the customer that the best thing to do is to work with you. But if that is not the case, it will probably get quiet for you. And they may explain it to you, they may not. But the crickets is not about whether or not you put a good hard close at the end of your presentation. It's about whether or not you clearly understood and addressed the problems that they were feeling. So if you are getting to this phase and you are not getting deals closed, your problem is not your ability to close. Your problem is your ability to clearly qualify. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, the sales funnel is our roadmap on how to bring someone from being a person that doesn't know who we are the whole way to being a buying customer. But there's a lot of nuances that I was not able to address in this video at each step of the game. And so, if you're really looking to hone in your craft, check out some other videos in my playlist, including how to run a perfect qualifying conversation for insurance producers or how to run a winning insurance presentation. 4 steps producers must nail. They'll really help you hone in your craft, and I'll see you there.